Myth-Poster Syndrome.
Hello and welcome back to my series Bridging the Gap. My name's Myth, and today we're going to be discussing the casting class Black Mage. If you're new to this series, this video is intended to provide a crash course for new players looking to get into the endgame. As such, we won't be covering every facet of the job, but instead focusing on the most fundamental aspects to get you into a functional endgame group as quickly as possible. Today we're going to take a look at what content Black Mage thrives in, how to maximize damage potential as a backline caster, and when it's appropriate to bring a Black Mage to content. As always, we'll start with fundamental gear sets. As a backline damage dealer, Black Mage often has one goal during a fight: magic burst for big numbers, and make what was once living dead. To accomplish this at its most basic level, you'll need a magic burst set, a fast cast set, and an idle set. Once you have the fundamentals, you can start building sets for things like enfeebling magic, mana wall, melee, and so on. But I'll link a guide below with a good collection of gear sets you can work towards. And remember, gear progresses as you do more content, so please don't feel like you need to go look at these sets that are labeled best in slot. Oftentimes, these are best used as jumping off points to build gear sets that suit your playstyle and the available gear that you have. Now we'll move on to job abilities. The first job ability we'll discuss is Elemental Seal. Elemental Seal increases the magic accuracy of your next spell by around 250 magic accuracy. It is best used for spells that provide enfeebles or status debuffs, such as Sleep or Burn. This ensures that these debuffs land on a monster that may be highly resistant. Planning the use of this job ability is important, as the recast timer is a whole 10 minutes. Oftentimes, it is best used at the start of a fight, when fighting a monster with high magic accuracy requirements. Next up is the ability Mana Well. Mana Well makes the cost of the next spell 0 MP. It pairs well with spells like Impact, which can drain a significant amount of your MP pool and leave you without MP to continue dealing damage if you're unprepared. Not to be confused with Mana Wall, which is a defensive ability. Mana Wall reduces damage taken by 50%, then applies that damage to your MP pool. This effect can be increased by gear such as the Empyrean plus 3 feet. With proper defensive buffs and gear, a Black Mage using Mana Wall can effectively take more damage than any other job in the game for 5 minutes. This makes it very useful in situations where you end up with aggro, or if you're soloing and you have to tank the monsters yourself. Next up is Enmity Douse. Simply put, if you're fighting a monster and use Enmity Douse, your enmity value resets. If you have a boss running towards you, this ability could save you just in time. However, keep in mind if you have Mana Wall available, it may be more beneficial to your party for you to tank the monster for a few hits. In this video, you can see my group doing Ongo V25. The first Tolfair spawns, and it is the safest option for me to tank it until our bard is able to solidify his own hate. If I Enmity Doused at the wrong time, I could be putting other backline party members in unnecessary danger. Subtle Sorcery is the last ability that we'll talk about for this video. It is Black Mage's second SP ability that can only be used once an hour, or 45 minutes if you're job mastered. Simply put, Subtle Sorcery grants you 1 minute of lower resistances to the monster you're casting on. It lets you land debuffs you normally wouldn't be able to without Elemental Seal, and it can be the difference between winning and losing in some high pressure fights. Now let's get to the good stuff. Spells. Black Mage has a large array of offensive spells. Elemental Magic is the fundamental offensive magic a Black Mage can take advantage of. There are several different types of elemental magic spells to choose from. The deciding factor for group play comes down to two things: what elements your group is skill chaining so that you can effectively magic burst, and what resistances the monster you're fighting has. In the fight example in the video, Ongo resists all types of damage except stone damage, so our party coordinates skill chains specifically to increase my ability to magic burst stone elemental spells. Another common element used is fire. Fire spells are often used in conjunction with a scholar and sortie because the scholar can 3-step a fire elemental skill chain, which can then be extended by other party members. This means that you as the black mage have more windows to deal out big chunks of damage. Make sure you do a bit of research or consult with your party before a fight if you're not sure what element you should be using. A large part of elemental magic is a hidden trait called cumulative magic, granted by Jaw spells such as Stonja or Faraja. Jaw spells place a hidden debuff on a monster which makes the monster take 5% additional damage from that same element for 60 seconds. Each cast of the same element increases that damage by 5% with a cap of 25% damage boost. This means that at the start of a long skill chain, using a Jaw spell will make your subsequent spells hit that much harder. This is especially important because it helps you counteract the consecutive elemental damage penalty. This penalty reduces magic damage when spells are cast within 5 seconds of each other. Once the king of all spells, Death is another spell worth noting. It consumes all MP and has a chance to instantly kill any non-resistant monsters. If the spell doesn't kill the target monster, it will trigger the Occult Acumen job trait, which gives you TP back. We'll talk more about Occult Acumen and why TP is important to black mages when we get to weapon skills. Now that you have a grasp on the damage dealing spells, let's talk about how to help yourself do that damage. Spells that place status effects on the monsters are Impact and Burn. Impact is a spell that you can only cast while wearing a Twilight Cloak or its item level equivalent, the Crepuscular Cloak. Impact reduces a target's base stats by a whole 20%. Burn is the other debuff spell commonly used by black mages. It decreases the intelligence stat of a monster by a significant amount that can be increased by gear. At this point, you might be wondering why lowering a monster's intelligence is important. Simply put, it makes the math more favorable to you when casting elemental magic spells. When you have a higher intelligence value than the monster, your magic does more damage. If you're interested in learning more about this, I'll link the BG wiki page in the description. The last types of spells we'll address are damage mitigation and crowd control spells. Stun is a spell that has a cast time of less than 1 second and is commonly used to stun monsters when readying especially devastating TP moves. Sleepga is a common crowd control spell that provides much needed utility to the class. It can help your party survive when too many monsters get involved and you need a little bit of a break. When monsters are immune to sleep, they are often susceptible to Breakga, which gives an area of effect Petrify that can get you out of tight spots. One of the most important things about casting spells is managing your MP pool. When you cast spells like Impact that cost over 600 MP, it can be easy to blow through that pool and run out of MP at a crucial moment. There are a few different ways to manage MP as a black mage. A common way is by using the Artifact plus 3 body, which converts 2% of damage dealt to MP. This can be significant. If you magic burst for 50,000 damage, you get a free 1000 MP. This item is best used only as a backup plan when you are in danger of being completely out of MP. A more seamless way to manage MP is by taking advantage of the combination of Occult Acumen and the staff weapon skill Merker. As you can see in the video, I gain TP passively by casting spells, and I replenish my MP by using the weapon skill Merker. This does require that I do not change weapons during this process, as I will lose my TP. To avoid this, I lock in my staff to the gear sets that I use for this fight. If you notice in this video, I have a few different things going on that help me play this class. First, you may have noticed that I am rarely hitting macros to perform actions. That's because I'm using an add-on from Windower called Shortcuts. This allows me to type short commands and quickly adjust on the fly. It is not at all necessary to play this class, but it's how I prefer to play it. The Gear Swap add-on is what allows me to weapon skill while not engaged, and because Merker is a self-target weapon skill, you are able to use it whenever needed. The last add-on we'll discuss is Skill Chains. In a game like Final Fantasy XI, where there are thousands of things to learn, you can bet that I'm too lazy to memorize what elements are associated with weapon skills and what those elements pair with to form skill chains. In the top right of my screen, you can see the skill chains add-on come up when weapon skills are used. It gives you a list of weapon skills you can perform to extend a skill chain, but the important thing for a black mage is it shows you when the magic burst window is open. This makes it much easier to see what is going on instead of trying to sort through a log that is moving faster than you can read. The last thing before we put it all together is to discuss the type of content Black Mage fits into best. The answer is actually pretty simple. It fits wherever you're willing to play to its strengths and bring something to help the group. While it might not be invited to a segment farm, Black Mage excels in content like Dynamis and Omen, where it can provide different types of damage and crowd control. And there will always be a spot for a Black Mage in sortie mage runs. Don't forget, there are literally fights that you cannot do without a Black Mage, like higher difficulty Ongo in Odyssey Sheol Jail. Now let's break down a fight for Black Mage. The first step is making sure that crowd control is taken care of and the group is in a safe position to start doing damage. The second step is applying debuffs like Impact or Burn where necessary, and don't forget to add Elemental Sealant and Mana Well when needed. Once those are complete, it's time to do damage. Sometimes a Black Mage can be an effective fighter at melee range or helping skill chain, but for a lot of fights this means letting your party set up for you to be the star of the show. Start magic bursting, rotate your jaw spells with your single target elemental nukes, make sure you manage MP by using Merker or by swapping out the artifact body as needed. Once things are rolling, make sure you keep an eye out for reapplying debuffs or crowd control spells as needed. Don't forget that you have Enmity Douse and Mana Wall in your back pocket to make sure bosses stay where they need to be and that you stay alive to keep the damage rolling in. That's it for now, and as always, thanks for watching.